Hi, welcome to Luxury in Moderation, where we appreciate the finer things in life without going overboard. My name is Joanne, and I upload videos at least once a week about luxury products and other lifestyle items, so please remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Today, I'll be talking about why I chose my Bottega Veneta shoulder bag instead of a Chanel tote, and what I think about the Bottega Veneta brand in general. So about 3 years ago, I was graduating from a master's program, and my mom generously offered to allow me to pick one of the bags from her collection. Now, a little backstory here. My mom is not a very fashion-forward person. She's actually quite a practical woman, but she does appreciate a nicely made bag from a well-known brand. So over the years, she's collected quite a few nice luxury handbags, but being the practical person she is, she always carries her Tod's tote to work every day, and she doesn't really use the other bags in her collection. So over time, while she's accumulated such nice bags, she's felt guilty about not taking them out and not using them. So, as me and my sister have grown older, she's passed on a lot of her nice luxury items to us over the years, and I definitely cherish each and every one of the bags that she gives me. Now, this particular bag is called the Veneta Hobo, and you can see that it has the signature Bottega Veneta Intrecciato weave throughout the entire bag. You can also see that on the edges, there's also a very beautiful braid that goes throughout the entire bag. So I found a description on the Neiman Marcus website that says that one artisan in Italy weaves the bag from start to finish because they want to make sure it's the same tension and pressure throughout the entire bag. This bag is in a lamb leather, which is very important because that's why the texture is so soft, and Bottega Veneta is known for how buttery soft their leather is. And this hobo bag is in the large size, which means that it is 19 inches wide and actually has quite a large capacity. So I remember when my mom first bought this Bottega Veneta bag at least 10 years ago. We were on a family vacation to the Czech Republic, and there happened to be a Bottega Veneta store. So at the time, I had no idea what the Bottega Veneta brand was. And I'm not really sure how my mom knew what this brand was either. I suspect it was from my aunt, who is a little bit more in tune with the fashion and luxury world. But my mom went into the shop, and I had no interest in this shop at the time, so I went back to the tour bus and patiently waited for my mom to get back and for the tour to go on. Now, when my mom came back to the bus, she was super excited because she had bought this luxury bag, and all the other people on the tour were really excited for her as well. Now, this being at least 10 years ago, the prices were very different then, and they have definitely gone up now. But I was able to locate the original tag that my mom gave me along with the bag. So I can see here that on the tag it said this bag, that it's a Kabelka BV, and I believe that Kabelka means leather, so it just says that it's a leather BV bag, and it doesn't say what kind of leather, it doesn't have a specific name of the bag, and it says what the bag is in the Czech currency, which I don't know what that currency is named, but it was 39,900 Czech. And then that translated to 1,564 euro. And then with a little bit of negotiating or writing off the taxes and things like that, I think my mom had bought this bag for 1,345 euros, which translates to about $1,500. Now, again, that's a direct translation for the currency today, but back then I think the euro was stronger, and it was quite a large sum of money, and it still is a large sum of money in US dollars. I mean, my mom was like going back and forth, should she really spend that much money on a bag like this? And just to show you the rest of the stuff that came with the bag, inside this tag that says BV, it has the care instructions, so it's in English and I'm assuming Italian and then Japanese. And it also has what I think was the receipt, but since it's been so long, now it's just a white piece of paper since all the receipt ink has come off of it. And of course, it came with a very large dust bag. So it's a very, very soft dust bag, and it says Bottega Veneta, and it does fit the bag very well. So why did I say that I chose this bag over a Chanel tote? Well, my mom actually also owns a Chanel Executive Cerf Tote. So if you don't know what that looks like, I'll insert it here. But basically, it's a very beautiful Chanel bag with all black leather, and it has the signature CCs. So it is a very beautiful bag. My mom was like, why don't you take that one? You know, obviously Chanel is a very well-known brand, and I can't remember when she bought that tote. I'm sure it was a while ago as well, you know, at least 10 years. So I don't know the price that she paid on it, but knowing that the Chanel brand is very prestigious and that their prices are very high, I'm sure that she bought the Chanel tote for more than the Bottega Veneta. And also, given the time lapse and the way that, you know, bags lose value over time usually, that the Chanel tote bag would be more valuable than the Bottega Veneta shoulder bag. But I told her that my mind was set on the Bottega Veneta bag, and there was no way that I was going to take the Chanel tote bag. So the reason why I was so taken with this Bottega Veneta shoulder bag is because when my mom first bought it and she opened it up in that tour bus and she let us feel it, I never forgot the feeling of touching this very soft intrecciato weave. So that definitely made a very huge impression on me. At the time, I didn't know it was called an intrecciato weave. All I knew was that it was the most luxurious feeling bag I had ever felt, and I fell in love with it right then and there, and I haven't forgot about it ever since. Now, of course, it is very difficult to compare a shoulder bag to a tote bag because they look very different and they are probably used for different reasons, which also factored into my decision. So for example, the tote bag, while it's very beautiful, I thought it was a little bit too long in terms of the ratio. So I personally do like rectangular bags, probably also as an influence from my mom because she always used a lot of rectangular totes. But I felt like the Chanel Executive Cerf, the ratios were just a little bit off where it just looked a tiny bit too long for the height that it is. And also because it is all one color and the one that my mom had was very black, I felt like it was such a formal bag and it wasn't really something that I felt like I could use every day. So of course it would fit in very nicely if I went to a very formal business meeting or a very formal luncheon, but I didn't feel like I could go to like the mall with this bag. With the Bottega Veneta shoulder bag, I felt like it was a much more versatile bag, especially with the dark brown color that my mom chose. Again, she was very practical woman. She mostly chose very neutral colors that would go with a lot of different outfits. This intrecciato weave shoulder bag was just enough of a beautiful detail, but it didn't draw too much attention to itself if I was going to like a supermarket and just needed to run some errands. So that also definitely factored into why I wanted to have this Bottega Veneta bag. So another reason why I wanted this Bottega Veneta bag was because of the brand itself. So I know that very recently, the Bottega Veneta brand has been getting a little bit of a moment. So I think starting late last year, the brand has been gaining a lot of popularity with the pouch bag and their padded cassette bag. But 3 years ago, when I was graduating from school, it was still very much under the radar, and I appreciated that fact. Ever since my mom got this Bottega Veneta bag, the company has fascinated me because it has such a strong history and it makes such wonderful products, and it has this beautiful intrecciato weave with very wonderful leather, and yet a lot of people weren't talking about it. And as somebody who appreciates luxury, I feel that part of these luxury products and these luxury brands is the fact that it is not something that the entire population knows about or has access to. So, for example, everybody knows about Chanel and everybody knows about the classic flap. So, that has a certain kind of appeal. And of course, I buy into that appeal and I bought my classic flaps. But on the other hand, knowing about a luxury brand that makes excellent product and not having a lot of people know about is like a secret club that you're a part of. That if you don't know what an intrecciato weave is, then someone carrying around a Bottega Veneta bag is just another bag to you. So if you know what you're looking for, you know, and if you don't know, then it could pass you by and you would have no idea what the bag felt like or the history behind the bag if you never looked into it. So I was so fascinated with the Bottega Veneta brand that I actually chose to do a grad school project on it. And my grad school project was more centered around how they could expand their men's accessories and how I would plan out that business plan. But basically, it gave me a chance to look into this company and really allowed me a chance to look at their gorgeous products up close. So, Bottega Veneta is an Italian brand that was founded in 1966. It was bought by the Gucci Group in 2001, and now that has turned into Kering. So Kering is the umbrella company that owns Gucci and Bottega Veneta and a lot of other luxury brands. Being a part of an umbrella corporation is another topic altogether, but what I really appreciated about the Bottega Veneta brand was that they never lost its identity in the intrecciato weave. So a lot of their products have this weave motif. They have it in their men's shoes, in their women's wallets, in their bags, of course. And being true to their roots and their motifs is a core part of being a luxury brand. For example, Mr. Christian Dior was very superstitious, so he believed in lucky numbers and the number 8 and the symbol of the bees. So that's why you can see a lot of these motifs pop up in the Dior products. But there's also a difference between French luxury and Italian luxury. Now, the way that I see it, or that I have learned, all luxury is based off of, first and foremost, a good product. So for something to be luxury, I think that we all expect there to be a good leather quality or a good material, whether it be canvas or leather. There should be some sort of craftsmanship, the way that they sew these things or they put these things together. There is a certain fundamental knowledge that these masters have practiced and given their time to for us to enjoy lasting products. But one of the main differences between French luxury and Italian luxury is that Italian luxury is much more rooted in functionality. So while, again, they make a good product, Italian luxury brands were really built off of creating very useful products for people to use. Whereas The French luxury brands have a lot of storytelling around the brand. They use, a lot of animal motifs and making us feel like part of their enchanting world. And maybe that's another topic that I can go into after I dig out all of my school notes. But at least for this video, the reason why I really appreciated the Bottega Veneta brand is because they have such a strong history for inventing, or at least continuing to keep this woven leather art alive, of using super fine leather that feels like butter but still keeps the integrity of the product, so that someone who wants to use this bag every day is going to be able to appreciate this bag for many, many years to come without sacrificing the beauty or the functionality of the bag. To give you a sense of the quality that I'm talking about, you can see here that the bag looks so perfect and pristine. Even though we know it's more than 10 years old, my mom took it out, I've been taking it out, the weave still looks perfect. So it was actually a good thing that I didn't choose the Chanel tote, because I actually ended up working for a competitor company right after graduation. So I don't think I would have been able to use the Chanel tote bag much anyways, because it would have been frowned upon. But for the first about year after I received this Bottega Veneta shoulder bag, I also didn't really know how to use it. So in construction, it's actually very flat. So you can see that there really is no width to the bag very much. And so when you hold it up with nothing in it, it kind of collapses upon itself. And I started off just throwing a couple things in there, like my wallet, my phone, and that didn't really allow the bag to open up, and it was very difficult for me to use. So it would still fold upon itself like this, and I found it a little bit hard to reach in under my shoulder and open it up every time I'd find the things that I needed to, because all the things would kind of go into a corner, and I really had to get used to, how to use this bag given its construction. So you can see here a little bit of what I'm talking about. Because of the construction of this bag, the opening of the zipper is actually quite close to where the handle connects with the rest of the bag. So that isn't a lot of space between my shoulder and the opening. So it's quite hard to maneuver when it's on my shoulder, but I have gotten used to just taking the bag off. But now that I have, made myself use a little bit more, I definitely do, take it to work sometimes, or use it on the weekends when I'm having a casual mall day. So I feel very comfortable with it now. I just had to get used to it because it was a lot flatter than any other bag I had ever used. And again, I can't say enough good things about the quality of this bag. So I accidentally did spill a lot of water in this bag one time. I had my water in my thermos and it leaked, and by the time I got home, I realized that my thermos was half empty and it had all gone into this bag. So I was freaking out. I didn't know if it would ruin the bag completely. So I took everything out of it and I pulled the inside of the bag out, because the inner lining isn't actually sewn to the bottom of the bag. So I could pull the inside out completely. And the inside is kind of a suede material, but I pulled it out, inside out completely, and just let it dry. And the leather on the outside was completely fine. So you can see, there's no watermarks that showed up. And I am so relieved that I didn't ruin this bag. Now here's a close-up of the inside of the bag, and it is lined with suede. There is one large zippered compartment, and you can see that it says Made in Italy. And then on the other side, there is one small pocket. I think it was meant for a cell phone, but that's of course when cell phones were much smaller, about 10 years ago. And you can see on closer inspection that there is wear and tear. This is a very soft lamb leather, so it can rip. And I don't know if my mom did that or me, but it can be scratched. And then on the inside, there is some staining. And now I'm just trying to see if there is any other wear and tear that I can show you. Maybe from this angle you can see that some of the dye is lightening because this dark brown dye can fade over time. And then because this bag is so unstructured and soft, I definitely store it with a lot of padding inside. Otherwise, it will just slump over and eventually develop creases and wrinkles. Now, of course, I do try to take very good care of my bags, and I try to not subject them to a lot of disasters, but if I was ever to be rained on, I'm glad to know that this bag won't be completely ruined, and I might just have to use some leather conditioner on it sometimes too. Now, as I mentioned before, the Bottega Veneta brand is a little bit more popular nowadays than it was 3 years ago. And I think it's because of the new creative director. You know, he's definitely created the new bag designs to be a little bit trendy. So of course they continue to maintain the craftsmanship that they're so good at, and a lot of their bags are still with this weave motif. For example, the padded cassette has the giant version of this weave, and now they're selling a rounded version of this shoulder bag, so it doesn't have the sharp corners, and there's a giant knot in the middle of the handle. So again, it's very rooted in what their brand is known for, which, like any other luxury brand, you know, that's the thing. When they run out of ideas, they do go back into their archives and resurface a lot of their historical motifs and continue to strengthen the brand through that way, so that the brand doesn't actually lose its identity. But as someone who appreciated the brand when it was going under the radar, when it was less well known, I do worry that, you know, after this explosion of popularity, that it will again be forgotten. So usually when something gets hot really, really fast, then there's kind of a timestamp to that popularity. So, you know, now in 2020, they might say, yes, Bottega Veneta was the brand of 2020. But then that starts to date the brand, because if you take out the padded cassette in 5 years, then people will be like, wait, wasn't that something that happened 5 years ago? And then that really makes people think that the brand was, you know, so 5 years ago. So when I was trying to research this shoulder bag, I really couldn't find a lot of information on it. You know, I couldn't really find out when it first started selling, when they stopped selling it. And I think that's kind of a good thing, because it makes it so that this bag isn't so dated in a way. You know, it doesn't say that, you know, in this particular year this bag was created and that's when it was popular. So it can be more timeless in a way. And that's how I think that I will view Bottega Veneta. So even when the popularity of the brand has gone down so much, I will continue to love this shoulder bag and appreciate the brand, because I fell in love with the quality of the material. You know, from when I felt that leather on my palm, and I just couldn't forget the feeling of this buttery leather. I knew that it was something to be appreciated, and I hope that they will always continue to make such wonderful intrecciato weave and not make a cheaper alternative or go down with their craftsmanship, because that ultimately, to me, is what makes something precious and what makes them worthy of being a luxury item.
On the other hand, there is the pouch,
which is very popular right now, and it looks very cute, and I'm sure that they still use a very buttery soft leather, even though I haven't gone and touched one of those. But the pouch without the intrecciato weave, and it's just a plain leather, is very copyable. And a lot of other brands, whether they are intentionally making a copy of this pouch clutch design and kind of saying that, get this look for cheaper, or if they are doing a vegan alternative and saying it's not trying to copy the Bottega Veneta pouch, but it is a cute pouch that, has so and so benefits. I think that kind of cheapens the brand, which is why I think that the pouch with no intrecciato pattern is going to be something that's trendy. Most people are going to appreciate it as a bag that they know that they will enjoy for a certain amount of time and might not appreciate it for the rest of their life. So as for me, I would say that it is a very interesting time to learn more about the Bottega Veneta brand. Again, they have a long history. They started out doing clothes, and with it gaining in popularity, it's definitely nice to understand, who's carrying it, why they're carrying it. But for me, when I made the decision to have this Bottega Veneta shoulder bag instead of a Chanel bag, it was really a choice that I made knowing what was important to me. First and foremost, the quality of the leather, and also, very importantly, how this bag made me feel. So I felt like I was in the know. I knew what an intrecciato weave was. That's not something that every girl, learns about. I didn't learn about it until very much later in life. And when I have this bag on, I know that it's very special because I know that people wove this together. It took a lot of time, and it's something to be appreciated. When you are seeing these popular bags, these popular brands, everyone's parading around at certain times, know that, some things are for trend purposes, some things are for your lifetime, and make your decision with your eyes wide open, telling yourself the truth about, I love this bag and I want this bag because I want to be in this trend, or I want this bag because even though it might never be trendy, it makes me feel wonderful. And I think that's just a good thing to remind ourselves when we might be feeling FOMO about not having the latest it bag or the latest look. Just try to understand first what is important to you. So I would really encourage you to go to a Bottega Veneta store if it's possible, if the stores are open right now, and just feel the bag for yourself. That's what really made me fall in love with the brand. And if that's important to you, you might start falling in love with it. If you don't care at all what a bag feels like and you just think that it looks like a really weird pattern, then you don't have to pay so much attention to a certain bag or a certain brand. The last thing that I want to say about the Bottega Veneta brand is that I do have one bag on my wish list from this brand, and it is their knot clutch. And that's because many years ago, I think at least 5 years ago, I was window shopping and I saw a purple satin version of their knot clutch on their shelf, and it was one of the most beautiful things that I've ever seen. So the sheen on the satin was just perfect, and the light purple lily shade really caught my attention, and I thought it was just a beautiful creation. So I have been thinking about this knot clutch for many years, but I know for me personally, it wouldn't be very practical because I am not a clutch person. I definitely take a lot of things with me most times, and the knot clutch is a pretty formal bag, and I don't go to a lot of formal events, so I honestly wouldn't use this clutch very much at all. But because it is such a gorgeous bag, it is an item that I think about a lot, that I check in a lot. You know, I still look at the prices. And last year or the year before, I actually think that Bottega Veneta had a lot of sales during Black Friday. So at least like the department stores like Saks or Neiman Marcus, they were having % off sales that included the Bottega Veneta brand. But I think that with the change in leadership, you know, whether that be a decision from the creative director or ownership or just people knowing that it is becoming a more popular item, I don't think that the BV brand is being included in a lot of these sales anymore. And I don't think it's going to be discounted anytime soon. But it's definitely on my wish list, and I hope to be able to appreciate it in my collection one day. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on the Bottega Veneta brand and showing you this shoulder bag with the beautiful and interesting intrecciato weave. And if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe and let me know in the comments below what other brands you're interested in learning about, what other bags you're interested in seeing, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.